Hey, White Sox fans. My name is Brett Ballantini, and no, we are not starting this podcast over for the second time. Sox Populi 195, getting very dangerously close to 200, and you know that is going to be a special celebration when it comes around. Could be during Soxivus. We may be having it again this year. You have to take Soxivus. There's nothing to celebrate. You can't even do grievances if you lose 121 games. So now we're back to the normal 102. It just feels right. So maybe, and who knows? The word is Chrystal O'Keefe may kill Tommy Barbie. No, not kill him. Kill him with kindness to bring him back in. That's Father Soxivus. He's got to come back for that. Special appearance by special guest, Tommy Barbie. Tommy, come back. We need you for Soxivus. All right. Anyhow, that's to come. This podcast with my four favorite and best friends in the entire world is going to be, I don't know, what should it be? 2025 White Sox. Yeah, I guess that's what it should be. Let's talk about that. We may or may not divide into teams. Could be Team Chrystal O'Keefe, where your glass about the White Sox is a little more full. Or it could be Team Brett Ballantini and other angry fans, where your cup is sort of empty and you're really thirsty. You've been a fan for like 40-something years and you're really thirsty. Anyhow, we'll get to that too. White Sox finish up the season hitting the magic 60-win mark. I'm doing a podcast about this team. 60-102, which is some achievement, certainly compared to 121 losses. That is the 7th worst team in White Sox history. So let's not break our arms, patting ourselves in the back for reaching 60 wins. It is the 11th worst three modern season stretch in Major League Baseball history, 324 losses. If you decide to clean it up and just say from opening day on, so like literal 3 seasons, the White Sox move up that list. They're equal to the ugly Houston Astros of the early teens. They're better than the Detroit Tigers of the early 00s. So it doesn't get any better if you just say from opening day on. 3 state 100 loss seasons, of course, a franchise record, close to a Major League record. No, the Major League record is 5. The American League record is 4. White Sox knocking on the door. And this was the by war, at least, if anybody pays attention. Smart people like Super Joe Resis and David James, no offense, Chrystal or Melissa, but, they're math people. They do that analysis. I don't. They'll laugh at me, but just by war, this is the 14th worst position player roster the White Sox have ever had. So there's some bad stuff. So come to my team, or there's some stuff to uptalk and hang out with Chrystal. So we have David James in his first Sox Populi podcast. Thank goodness, about time. You've seen him as seen on 60-second recaps. Melissa Sage-Bollenbach, who's everywhere. 60 seconds. Sometimes you get her in 60-second doses. And sometimes when she's forced to sit and politely listen to a long intro like this, it's longer than that. Sometimes 60-minute doses. Sorry to all of you. Chrystal O'Keefe, you may know her as the author of 75 or 80 podcasts a year at Visiting Dugout. Hey, Chrystal, are you looking forward to a nice break from Visiting Dugouts? Break. For this, I do not blame you. But yes, ruthless and relentless podcasting from Chrystal O'Keefe, touching nearly every team, not quite every team, but nearly every team, and sometimes twice. That's nuts. I could never do it. I dare say any of us sitting here could not do it. And of course, Miners Maven. I believe that was his award. The award I came up with as I was typing a tweet in about 2 minutes. Yes, Miners Maven or whatever it was. It's Super Joseph Resis showing up. I told Joe before the rest of you join me. It's just always a surprise. Rarely announcing his presence with authority. So he just sneaks into the podcast and it's like, bonus treat. Joe's here. So happy to see all 4 of you. And let's right off the bat, without necessarily committing to teams, let's go vibe check on this team. The season's over. You can maybe even kid yourself into looking forward to 2026. I don't know. The actual year, 2026, who would look forward to that? The season, actually, maybe who would look forward to that, but maybe you can make an argument there. So hot seat right off the bat. David James, vibe check on this 2025 season. Obviously, things got they got better as time went, but then sort of a little flat tire at the end of the season. Overall vibe check on this team.
Yeah, it did get better, and I thought it would be a very helpful exercise to just read the opening day roster.
Oh,
So,
torture.
and just keep in mind
Okay.
what the roster was at the end of the season. Listen for your favorite player. I won't say his name. The catchers were Corey Lee and Matt Thies, who actually I think led the team in WAR in April. So no
Yep.
hate on Matt Thies. He ended up
Mm-mm.
playing 22 games with the Rays, and now I think his career is over. But a good hot April. Uh, First base Andrew Vaughn, who is he's Eddie Matthews, but otherwise pretty underwhelming. Starting shortstop was Jacob Amaya. That was great. Uh, Oh, who are we? Let's see here. Travis Jankowski was getting a
Mm.
lot of run.
Jankowski action, sure.
Our big bench bat was Nick Maton. Um, our high leverage guy was Mike Clevenger. I believe then, when it bombed out of Clevenger, they switched to Penn Murphy, who was also gone by
That's
mid
right.
May.
That's
All I'm
right.
saying is, when you look at the whole record, you go 60 and 102. Surface level, that looks awful,
Hmm.
obviously. Also, when you think about like later on in history, it's always going to look like a 60 and a 102 season.
Yes,
They were 5 and 21 in April.
they were. Yep.
They were 5 and 21 and then 11 and 17 in May. But then, you know who started coming in? That was when they called up Edgar Caro. That's when they called
Mhm.
up Kyle Teal. That Chase Mydrout didn't start the year with the team. Seems like
Mhm.
he's been here for like 3 years already. He did
Yeah,
not
like
start the
12
year
IL
here.
stints. So sure, yeah, he's used up all his
Miguel
IL team.
Vargas didn't really figure out his swing until early May. He was still a ghost.
Sure.
And of course, Colson Montgomery. And that's not to mention, they call up Grant Taylor in the middle of the year. He was a great
Mhm.
high leverage arm. They figure out some things with some other guys. Obviously, I don't think anybody thought that Mike Vassell would be as good as he was, but that
Mm-mm.
was a pleasant surprise. And, the opening day starter was Sean Burke, who they had to punt down to Charlotte
They
in the
did.
middle of August. But the top five of the rotation by the end of the year, those kids were getting gassed, other than Shane Smith, but otherwise they were all tired. Basically, we can't look at the whole season as a whole. There is the before that
Hmm.
terrible opening day roster that if we hadn't done any changes, 100% we could have been challenging the Rockies for our own record from 2024. But the difference is we actually recruited, we brought in guys, and those rookies actually hit, and none more so than Colson Montgomery, but so many of these contributors this year, Kyle Teal, Edgar Caro, Grant Taylor, all of these guys were rookies that did not start the year here. So the team looks completely different than it did in
Hmm.
April when it was god awful. And that's why I'm glass half full.
When you don't look at the season as a whole, you can absolutely talk yourself onto Team O'Keefe. There's no doubt about it. So I don't even have to ask you. Yes, you just said glass was full or half full, as full as it can
No, no,
be.
no, it's pretty full.
All right.
I've
All
bought
right.
too much stuff.
Brimming. All right. Okay, moving over to Melissa. I might get a different answer here. So where you at with the vibe check, Sage-Bollenbach?
So I just go back and forth all the time. I cannot decide where I am
Hmm.
because one day I'm with Chrystal and I'm like, oh, I love these guys. They're so great. And then I go to Washington, D.C. and I watch them play in person for 2 nights in a row. And I'm like, oh my, we're
We're
playing
not
the
as good as the
Nationals, who are
Nationals.
equally
Yeah.
as horrible. Yeah, like are pretty awful too. And we can't even go. I mean, I shouldn't say we can't go step to step with them because it just, yes. So I am like the wind. 1 minute I'm
Hmm.
blowing this way, and 1 minute I'm blowing this way. But I mean, I love David's, arguments of like if you compartmentalize all of these pieces, it can be a little more encouraging. But I am a half glass empty person overall. And I there's so many holes still that were just like glaring at me towards the end of the season. Kind of after the whole hot streak was behind
Mhm.
us, and some of the those holes were glaring, and I think a little more glass half empty. I think that we've got a long way to go.
There is room in the dugout here with me, Melissa. So, yeah, thank you for preventing extreme loneliness on my part. I'll allow you to run across the diamond to hang with the cool kids in the O'Keefe dugout. But, when the day's over and the game's over, come on back and we'll drink from the cooler and cry a little bit. Chrystal, we know where you stand, and your piece at Southside Sox explained that very well. Not silly in that it wasn't just, wow, this is great. Of course, a lot of things you got to point out. Not good. You actually took both sides. When I wrote the recap, I guess you call that a recap, it was dour with the acknowledgement, their son, I just don't have any oxygen left to use while typing. I'm done. Explain a little bit of your position of sort of up talking and feeling okay about things as the season winds up.
So, as I pointed out in what I wrote, there were plenty of things to be negative about. Martin Perez came back and continued to get shelled, which was concerning. As David pointed out, Sean Burke got sent down really early into the season, so pitching is still really scary to me, despite Shane Smith being excellent this season, despite Davis Martin mostly being
Mhm.
on the up and up. I don't go into Davis Martin starts like clenching my fists and being worried, but there was also just a lot of good that I saw, and I know that Colson is going to regress. I'm sure it'll happen next season. He's not going to just hit home runs, and his line doesn't look great in the grand
That's
scheme
so
of things.
weird.
I mean, it's either strike out or hit a home run.
Yeah.
So that's concerning, but there were guys that were more consistent. I obviously big Kyle Teal fangirl. I pulled out because my dearest husband got me the Kyle Teal card from his first game. Beautiful.
Nice.
He was excellent, when he was in the batter's box. Chase was really fun. He wasn't super frustrating. Like Tim Elko, when he's randomly up, showed a lot of promise. If they could keep him up, that would be really
Yeah.
cool. But they were a completely different team in the second half, and I think once they were starting to settle in, and I think having a much younger manager this year to help with that transition and help with the settling in really kind of brought on a team that I feel like aren't going to lose 100 games next season. Maybe they'll lose 90 games next season. That's kind of on par for what I think. But I think last year was the true rock bottom point for this team, and they can only go up. They've learned so many lessons on what not to do that there's no way but up.
See, take notes, David and Joe. This is the kind of statistical analysis you two can learn from. You can't get any lower than a 121 loss season, guys. I know you're thinking, well, yeah, I can get. No, you can't. So, just make note of that. Now, Joe, you've had a lot of time to think about which dugout you want to sit in. And this is not like winning who gets 3 people, who gets 2. Melissa's already hedged it like, I'm going to be in both. I'm in both too. I want to hang out with Chrystal. Plus, I'm not that dour, am I? Look, I'm smiling, I think. So, Joe, again, we're not committing you to this. This doesn't have to be written in ink. But are you feeling optimistic, a little more optimistic, a little more pessimistic? Or do you just want to punt the question?
The glass is more full than it was to begin the season, but I'm still leaning towards glass half empty on this one. I mean, I was predicting only 51 wins. They got to 60, and they didn't need to rely on, semi-decent performances from veterans who don't have a future with the team to get that far. So I was very happy with the way that they played down the stretch, in particular, after the All-Star break, having a very slightly positive run differential. They were 28 and 37 after the All-Star break with, surprisingly, a +3 run differential. Like, that was good. They're at least trending in the right direction. And as a White Sox fan, I've gotten very used to having promising prospects not pan out, and quite a few of these guys kind of raced out of the starting gate, and that was a very pleasant surprise. And it's definitely something that I wasn't expecting, in particular with Colson Montgomery getting off to as hot of a start as he got off to. Like, that was definitely a big boost for the team that I wasn't expecting, considering, a fairly mediocre performance in Charlotte, where a bunch of random minor leaguers had hit the ball quite well.
Mm-hmm.
That was really a pleasant surprise, and progress has been made. At the end of the day, the record, though, doesn't lie. They still have a long, long way to go, and in terms of how optimistic am I going into these next few years, I definitely have to see more progress for me to believe that they can get to a spot where they're contending. But I would say it was definitely a step in the right direction. But pretty much no matter what happened this year, based on how poor their position was to begin the year, I was going to be in the glass half empty camp.
Yeah. That's good caution, Joe, because there's still a nameplate or a sign in the parking lot at the ballpark with Chris Getz's name on it to park. And until that nameplate is taken down, I think we just doesn't mean we won't win a World Series with Chris Getz as GM. But okay, this specific little follow up here. This specifically is going to go out first to David and Chrystal, whose glasses are most full. As Joe alluded, pace of the season, I did not even know about, as someone who picked the team to win 42 games, I believe. Yes, I'm going to give credit where it's due. This team blew me away in terms of what my expectations were. I did not think it was possible. What I really didn't realize is that it's really impossible to have the 2024 season that the White Sox had, and yet they did it. Now I realize we won't see that again in our lifetimes. Way to go, Rockies. You defied everybody here. I was the only one who had faith in you, Rockies. Remember that when you're looking to hire or something. Anyhow, as Joe pointed out, the pace of the second half, this great second half where everybody felt sort of better about things, run differential positive, but still translates to a 72 and 90 season. Now that's still an improvement, but there's only so much oxygen that puts back into the room. So beginning with David and Chrystal, I sort of want to know what you're foreseeing in terms of as we get into 2026, knowing the roster is going to be, let's not pretend a superstar's walking through the door. They're not. Let's pretend there's not going to be devastating injuries. It's going to just gut the team. Basically this team runs it back out in March. What are you two feeling specifically, or just, I don't know, just again, vibes, that's going to continue to march improvement, given that the second half still was only so good, much better in the first half, but still only so good?
Yeah, I can get started on that. I think the main thing I am looking forward to is just the idea that there seems to be a development plan in place now. And at my absolute, you guys didn't know me in 2024 because I was a ghost to the world in 2024 because the team made me so sad and I didn't think there was any way they were getting out of it. I thought it was just going to be more of the same. Because what made me furious about it was that they were just plainly stupid from top down. Like, we've known about drawing walks for 100 years now. Like, Lou Blue was doing it in the 1930s.
He was.
He figured it out.
Yeah.
And this team never drew walks. They were terribly undisciplined. And then they were going with this theory of pitching that was like, it doesn't matter if your fastball has no movement, just try to max out the velocity, as though I was the only person in the world that didn't remember Billy Koch still. So
Right.
I just thought it was just going to keep getting worse.
Hmm.
What you see in the approach, you see Chris gets prioritized more disciplined prospects ever since he took
Yep.
over, and he took advantage of it in the Crochet trade. I think Chase Mydroff's big selling point, other than second base defense, was his patience at the plate.
Yep.
You see it top down with the team. I believe, I didn't check this, but the last time I looked in mid-September, Miguel Vargas was second in the entire league in pitches per plate appearance. And I will also guarantee you, if we look back at that data 20, 30 years, we will rarely, if ever, see another White Sox player on it. I bet it would just be like 3 Adam Dunn years, and then some years where everyone was afraid to pitch to Frank Thomas, and that was all we would see. So obviously there's a power and discipline approach at the plate that's going to pay dividends down the road. They also, let's not forget, they saved Colson Montgomery. He was dead in the water.
Yep.
It wasn't just like, oh, he's having a slump. There was like concerns he'll never break over the Mendoza line again. I think he was striking out on 40% of his plate appearances at a pretty large sample size. The kid was toast. He just posted 3.3 WAR this year, and he got called up on July 4th. That's an insane success. I mean, at a certain point, you just kind of have to throw your hands up and go, okay, they've proved it. They've proved concept here. And that's not even looking at pitchers. Frankly, I think their entire plan is to just try to create as many Logan Webbs as possible, and it's brilliant. It's like such a basic way to, everyone should have a sinker. Everyone should be using that kick change that plays perfectly off the sinker. You throw some like breaking stuff off of that, and then you can just, it's like a modern view of pitching now. And you can see it also with the relievers. They're not telling them to try to work their entire thing. They take 2 pitches and you work on those 2 pitches, and that's how you make a good bullpen. These are all common sense things that they never did before. So I think I'm just excited about the fact that the team is like now reached like 1992.
Normal competence.
But they're there. They're there.
We thought it would never happen.
I really didn't. And so, you can say what you want about Jerry Reinsdorf, but God bless him. The moment he was embarrassed on a historical level, he moved his thinking to the brink of the steroid era, at least. So we got that to be thankful for.
All right. I'm still looking at the standings, but boy, it's like David just brought a really delicious 7-layer dip into that dugout across the diamond, and I'm really tempted to walk over there to Team O'Keefe now, because that was a well said, David. And let's not forget, with Colson, he didn't really prove it in AAA. He had like that hot 3 days. It wasn't like he had a month. It's like, oh wow, this guy's figured out. He did this in the majors. I mean, not maybe complete 90% in the majors. He did this in the majors, because all of us, when he got called up, we're like, what clown game is this? Okay, oh, well, he's going to hit homers in Colorado, the easiest place to get called up, Colorado, yay. And then, it's the next series to get murdered. And he did not look back. Ever since Papa Montgomery was in there, flashing the tats and cheering on every hard hit contact, he never looked back. Chrystal, you get your chance then to also answer the perplexing question, which again, David tackled pretty well, wrestled that one to the ground, but hey, still 72 win pace. So what you so jazzed about?
Well, actually, to point out what he initially said at the start of this, half of the guys that are on the team now weren't with us at the beginning, and our record clearly reflected how poorly it was. Andrew Vaughn was dead in the water. Miguel Vargas was back to kind of struggling with that swing, but that's another thing that they've developed. Like, they've shown that they are willing to put in more effort to these guys, to Miguel Vargas, to Colson Montgomery. And then I think about kind of what's still below. Like, I think about Hagen Smith, and I get a little excited about what is still coming up. And then I know we'll touch on this later. Spoiler alert, Ethan Katz isn't coming back. But I think breaking that up is actually a positive for me because, to be honest, the Katz lab hasn't really been proving effective in the last 2 seasons. I think, yeah, he was great for Lucas, but Lucas Giolito is long gone and on a team that's going to the postseason, and he's not bonding, he's not gelling with these younger pitchers anymore. And so I think knowing that Will wants to kind of break up a lot of that and bring in what he feels is tried and true is good, because I think that Will is such a good influence on this team right now. And I mean, I know I joke, but like the vibes were so good under Will. They lost so many games this season, but they weren't constantly feeling defeated. We didn't get the Miguel Vargas meme like we did last season of him like pouting in the corner of the dugout. Like we didn't get that this year. Like they were still happy. And I watched a lot of the post game interviews from, the last game, and Miguel Vargas was one of them, and he talked about how he was just really happy with the progress he had made this year and how he felt very supported this year and how they really took a chance and helped him become a better hitter and more patient at the plate. And I think if they're willing to do that, and again, I don't want to give Skets any credit ever, but it shows that they're willing to help these players and develop even more talent so that, again, even if they don't have a phenomenal season next year, you're seeing this steady growth. And I think that having some of these guys on this team that we got so late into the season start next year is going to be so much better.
Yeah, spoiler alert, second half, we're going to touch on how much credit Will Venable deserves. And I know this could be the most arguing of the podcast. Who knows? Who knows? Yeah, okay, when we start talking about Chris Getz as anything more than a con man, that's when I move back across the diamond to my dugout. And that's cool, because we can do that. I'm going to just run around.
He still absolutely is. But
okay, but there's a little aspect where he does his job occasionally.
I only appreciate that he does care about developing players a little bit more than what we're used to.
All right. Listen, Joe, even though, Ken, you got spots in my dugout, but paths that you see forward, or a couple things you'd like to see again that maybe weren't touched on, or you want to reemphasize from David or Chrystal, path to this team being, let's say, better than we think in 2026?
So, being one of the grizzled older people here,
it's okay.
I
it's okay.
100% agree with David and Chrystal and what they're saying about having a plan in place and executing the plan. You can see it. I appreciate that, and I enjoy that. And like, we are really behind the 8 ball, and it's about time that we're doing those things. My skepticism comes in with, you can't do it all in-house, though. At some point, you're going to have to go out and you're going to have to get that big guy. You're going to have to get the Harper. You're going to have to get the Ohtani. You're going to have to get the Machado. You're going to have to get the Mike Trout, whatever, to finish it out. And I don't have the confidence that in the next few years that is going to happen. Not until there are some, I don't know, maybe the cash infusions will change. But I just see this, okay, we've got the plan, and we've got the rookies, and we're bringing everybody up, and we're, bringing in like veterans like Michael A. Taylor, clubhouse guys who set the tone and say, hey, you show up every day, you do your thing, you run to first, blah, blah, blah. But without that superstar, and maybe Colson is one of them, but most good teams have more than one superstar. There's not just Aaron Judge in New York. There's not just Shohei Ohtani in, Los Angeles. There are multiple. And while I think Teal is great and Caro is great and et cetera, they seem like they may be average to above average players, not superstar. And there is my rant.
Yes, Melissa, in our dugout, we say, if you're waiting for the spending, let's all 5 of us cryogenically freeze. We'll come back for Sox Pop Podcast 495, and they might be ready because we got it. We know for sure. We know for fact we got 2 years at least to wait on that because it would definitely be past 2027. So, all right, Melissa has blown our hair back with that reality dose. Joe, are you actually going to temper it a little bit and see a path forward to the 90 or fewer losses? What is something that you feel could happen and would need to happen for that sort of next step forward?
90 or less losses in 2026. It's a little bit hard to see right now. It could happen. I think it would largely be carried by players in their second years kind of repeating what they did early on in their careers. With, of course, Montgomery, Teal, Caro. I think, we'd have to see those guys performing at a high level once again. I think it would take, I'll echo the point about the lack of spending. Of course, it's not going to happen this offseason. Like they'd have to also find at least a couple of decent players from the bargain bin as well this year, which that could happen. I mean, you could find decent players. They've done that in the past.
Joe, we got Mike Talkman at home. We already got Mike Talkman, man.
I was mid-sentence. I was thinking of should I say Mike Talkman as an example? Because he was like the best example for this.
Well done.
But I think those would be the main pathways for next year to be, in the 72 or more win club.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's unlikely, it is not unrealistic, but I don't think it will happen.
All right. Okay. Let's take this opportunity for our brief break. We'll talk a little bit about coaching staff changes. Were they only because the coaches were getting paid more than 50 grand? I don't know. It's a Jerry Reinsdorf team. Could be. We'll see. We'll talk about coaching changes and maybe focus a little bit on the credit or discredit. Ooh, there's a twist. Discredit manager Will Venable gets. How much of 102 losses are in his shoulders? Vibes aside. We got a broadcaster full of vibes. He tries to force hot dogs on his broadcasting partner, and none of us like him. We take a break. Minute or two, hang with us. I promise Sox Populi 195 will not go away. We will be back to talk about the coaching staff changes in just a second. Hey, White Sox fans. It is Sox Populi Podcast 195. I am here with 4 of my best friends in the entire world. Super Joseph Resis, Chrystal O'Keefe, who was looking forward to not doing podcasts for like months, but guess what? The bat phone rang. She picked it up, regretted it probably about a second into that pickup, and she's here. God bless her for that. Melissa Sage-Bollenbach, and making his Sox Populi podcast debut, it's David James with astute analysis, oftentimes humor. Love the humor, David. Okay, here's the... You thought we were going to talk about coaching changes? This is why this powerful, the bat signal went up and we all got together for a podcast? Coaching staff changes? If a manager hardly matters, ooh, another topic. Do coaches matter? Oh, I think they do, especially when like the Cat's lab got bought up by the Bannister lab and then he got laid off. So, I mean, obviously it happens. I don't know. Is Bannister going to be the pitching coach? Basically, the White Sox cleaned house. Apparently, Will Venable drove that. I'm not trying to make him out to be a bad guy, but I mean, you could do the math there. Beyond contracts expiring, Will could have been like, "Oh yeah, these are cool. We like having pregame meals together. I like these dudes. Yeah, all right, okay." And I'm not saying he hates those guys, but they're not working for the White Sox anymore. So coaching staff changes. Do they matter? Is it a good thing? I think Chrystal already maybe indicated she thought it was. But thoughts on that, and I don't know what else to talk about. Oh, a possible replacement. Yeah, right. Okay, let's talk about that. But thoughts on that? A little, I mean, not odd for a 60-102 team, but one that's maybe a little odd retaining their manager and very happy with him. So is it all okay? Here's the question. Talk about whatever you want about the coaches. Here's my question. Does this prove it was all the coaching staff's fault? Because they're out of a job. All right. Make me stop talking.
I am all for this change. I love change. Please just bring it. I just want to point out that Grady staying just proves to me that Will Venable is an OG Grady's ladies like I am.
He understands how handsomeness factors into coaching war.
Yes, you have to have at least one. When all of your players are 20 years old, you need, like the elder millennial women to still retain Grady Sizemore because
You got to get them to the concession stand and buy
I
it.
remember 2008 and that was a big year for Grady's ladies and I was in that. So I just want to thank him personally for keeping him on.
This is why you tune into the Sox Pop. This is analysis you're not getting any of those Yahoo podcasts. Get out of here. This is the story underneath the story.
I make it very known that I was in that Tumblr era.
Who's going to follow up that? But, Chrystal has spat the truth, so there's nothing much to say. But, brighten the corners a little bit. Fill in something with other response to the coaching staff changes. Pro, con, whatnot.
I didn't think there were any red flags from the changes that were made. I think that the Cats one was a bit surprising. I thought that considering the lack of talent that the White Sox had entering the season, that overall their pitching results were better than expected. And
they're better than the hitting.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I was a bit surprised about that change. I wasn't like overly attached to Cats, but that one was at least a little bit surprising. But overall, Venable gets a passing grade for his first year, and ultimately, I think that if he is able to, pick his own staff. That's a big win, and if there's someone out there who is a better option, then at this moment in time I think he has my trust, and I would be very open-minded for who the next people will be.
Oh man, as we wind up this podcast, it might get ugly because I as much as I acknowledge what Chrystal said about the handsomeness factor and so on, total credit there. I think I'm less of a fan of Will than the rest of you, which doesn't mean I'm not a fan. But before we move on to that topic where I'll get yelled at, Melissa, David, thoughts on this coaching changes?
Yeah, I'm kind of curious how. So I think it's been made pretty clear that Brian Bannister is more the thought leader on the pitching side, and Ryan Fuller is more the thought leader on the hitting side.
Yeah.
So to me, my thought is I don't think these coaches necessarily. I just don't think they matter, because I think all they do is they're just going to come in and teach whatever.
They put the ball on the tee.
Yeah, exactly. They're going to follow Fuller's ideas, like whoever the hitting coach is. Marcus Thames last year was talking a big game under Pedro Grifol about how we were going to dink and dunk it around the park like we were playing pre-segregation era baseball. Like there was no... It was ridiculous. And now this year, suddenly...
But David, they were playing fast. They were playing so fast.
Who could remember that one hit and run they pulled off against the Tigers? There's obviously... They're much better with launch angle now. Marcus Thames was not a launch angle guy last year. Suddenly this year he was teaching toward it. I think that was more of a Ryan Fuller thing, and whoever is giving the directions is going to be from a place higher than these coaches. So whoever is coming in, they're just coming in to follow orders, and I don't feel like they matter very much.
So the notion might be it's not even so much, and listen, I don't think Will was like, oh man, get these guys out of here. They don't even smell good or what. No, I'm sure it wasn't that. But yeah, it really is. Bannister's going to pick the pitching coach because they're going to be simpatico, and Fuller's going to pick the hitting coach, and Will's going to be like, okay, handsome enough, and okay, and I'm not making fun, but I mean, he may not have veto power even, like, okay, I want to get along with him, but I don't think he's going to necessarily make or break it as much as we might be saying, oh well, the staff has changed because contracts are up and Will wants to change. I gotta say, he's being a good soldier if he's not really driving this. And when would a manager ever really drive this in today's baseball? So he's being a pretty good soldier, because everything intimating even up into the end of the season was that change was coming. I'm not sure anybody thought that entire coach's locker room was going to get cleared out, but okay, so it did. Melissa, I'm guessing you're like, oh yeah, okay, just put in whoever and you still got to be good players. But what's your thoughts on those coaching changes?
So yeah, what David was thinking, what I was thinking is that basically the new people are going to be the messengers, right? But maybe that's where Will was like, I would like to pick my own messengers. That, we want to pick guys who are going to be able to relay whatever Fuller and Bannister are, trying to teach and promote. But next to him, Will wanted the people that he felt that he could have a better rapport with. So not that, cats or, et cetera, were bad at their jobs or bad people or whatever, but that maybe that personal ability to click with his own people. And I can respect that. Like, I get that, have nothing against so-and-so or whatever. But I would also like to have someone that I really get along with and we're on the same wavelength and the way we communicate with players, etc. So,
yeah. Sort of sums it up when you say coach so-and-so, whatever, because that's ultimately what most of these guys are reduced to. If you're not Don Cooper, that's what you're ultimately, Charlie Lau, you're ultimately reduced to that. So, okay, the difficult part of this podcast, let's put Will Venable under the microscope here. Now, by all accounts, and it's already been mentioned in this podcast, vibes are great. I've credited him in podcasts immediately prior to this. The fact that he didn't even, granted, this might be just Pedro Grifol aftershocks, but the fact he didn't step in a pothole on his own, he didn't create problems, and he didn't pour any oil on a fire either. And not that there were any, I don't think there are even minor controversies, really. He certainly didn't do anything to fuel them the way Grifol did, just like rolling out of bed. And Tony did, because who knows how much he had been tippling at the time. But that said, okay, vibe's great. Smile on the bench, supportive of the guys, says the right things, doesn't say a lot, and that's probably not bad. He's certainly a rookie manager, not supposed to be Sage. I don't know if any, not Sage-Bollenbach, but Sage, and I don't know if any manager, even an established Hall of Fame manager, is supposed to be that anymore. I mean, don't tell Ozzy, but that said, a lot of close losses. And as much as we want to say, it's because the bullpen sucks. The bullpen didn't suck. I mean, the bullpen wasn't great. The bullpen managed to melt down a bit. Numbers-wise, the bullpen didn't suck. Pitching staff-wise, didn't suck. The hitting, I'm fond of saying it's the hitting of why the White Sox lost so many close games, because there were games they might as well not have brought the bats to home plate. A lot of games, even a few in the second half. However, if you're going to give credit for vibes, you also have to examine a lot of close losses, and there's a manager, he's not going to the plate, but he's making the decisions that do contribute to, maybe you could say contribute to the Sox getting close enough, and games last year that would have been 5-run losses were now just 1-run losses. Maybe that's what some of you smart people, smart Alex, are going to tell me here. Or you might say, you could make an argument, as I'm making, under the bright lights, moves being made, arbitrarily, well, I guess not arbitrarily, because the White Sox could not hit until July, every single opportunity you're pulling your infield in, for example, there were moves made by Will that you might question if you can get past the bright smile and the handsomest factor, or Grady's at least. So is it fair for me, yell at me if you wish, I'm in that other dugout right now, so it's okay, to be suggesting that maybe we are giving Will a little bit more credit, especially after the aftershock of Pedro Grifol, Tony Russo. Okay, we had a break with Ricky. I'm a Ricky guy. But Rob Ventura was napping. I don't know. Are we so eager for a manager who appears competent? He's on the top rail, and he doesn't look like he's constipated or angry or, well, I won't say having a heart attack, but sorry, you took the job, Tony. Are we giving too much credit to Will for what we might consider basic competency, and do some of those close losses fall on him? Have at me, or acknowledge that I convinced you and agree with me.
We probably are giving him a little bit too much credit. On the other hand, you can't really blame us, because we did just deal with Grifol and LaRussa, and
this is a major league team, Joe. Yes, go ahead.
The 15 and 36 in one-run games. Yeah, that is an issue that hopefully won't keep happening time and time again. I will say, I was also thinking, many of those games would have been more lopsided in 2024. I was thinking of that point. You had also mentioned it in advance before I had the chance to say it. But yes, I would agree with that point, to maybe inflate that record a little bit in those close games. And it was the bullpen management. I mean, it wasn't flawless by any stretch of the imagination. I would say, part of that is on Venable. It was also a situation of he wasn't given a whole lot to work with, which contributed to a lot of those close losses as well. Some of that can fall on the manager. But there were many instances where I'm like, okay, there just aren't that many good options available in this situation right now. I don't really have confidence in any of these guys. So it wasn't a flawless first year, but I mean, considering the poor amount of talent on the roster overall, for now I am on the lenient side in terms of my opinion of Venable.
Of course you are, Joe. You're genial and you're generous, all the things I'm not. 71 and 91 Pythagorean. Undermanaging or overmanaging that is not all on the manager, but that's a 71-91 for the White Sox here. That's 11 wins different. That's nothing. We can't just whistle past that either. Okay, welcome back to the Ballantini Dugout, Joe. Nice to have you here. Okay, the rest of you three, have at it. Or just nod your head in agreement. It's cool, because we can move on.
We're also eager, right? It's the win 60, lose 60, what you do in between. I think the bullpen management, when I assess like his first year, that's one of the things that sticks out to me. I feel like there was a lot of times that you're like, where's Vassell? Like when he hadn't pitched for 2 days and like it was a really critical game, you're like, why is he like that happened this weekend? And so and maybe there's things that we don't know with players who are a little ouchy or something. But I think there is that learning curve for him on just how that process works and who to use where. But I don't know. I mean, I really do think that especially given what he had to work with, I think he did a great job. And I like how he interacts with players. I like how he interacts with the media. I there's just nothing about him that makes me go, ooh, there's a red flag there with that guy. When we can say that for a lot of the people that we've had before. And maybe, Brett, you'll let us know about your red flags. But for me, other than what I would expect a rookie manager to struggle with, I give him a good grade. I like him, and I'm excited to see what he does next year. And if he can make things even a little bit better with maybe a few more people off the trash heap.
Bullpen wise, I appreciate that he was willing to play with leverage instead of pretending he invented the closer and just like, okay, here's your role, here's your role, here's your role. And plus, what did he have to work with? But I'll appreciate that. But you know where I stand. I'm a little bit skeptical. Okay, the two fullest glasses are just, I'm on the firing line now. But Chrystal and David, where are you at with assessment of Venable beyond the mere acknowledgement of the handsomeness factor?
Say I give him a lot of credit for his rookie year. Yes, he could poorly manage a game very easily, but at the same time, like Melissa and Joe pointed out, he didn't have a whole lot of talent to work with, and he didn't have a great front office to work with. Like everything kind of was stacked against him coming in, but he actually took accountability, which I appreciate. And I think that goes back to kind of what Melissa was saying. He was great with the media. Like he took accountability for these losses. He didn't just place it all on the bullpen, or he didn't, he was a lot better about how he handled things and how he managed the team. And it got to the point where a friend had said something. I posted a picture, subtle flex here, with myself and Ozzy and the family. And someone was like, oh my gosh, don't you just wish Ozzy would come back and manage? And I was like, no, absolutely not. Ozzy, we're done with Ozzy. Ozzy is great in the pre and post game show. I love him there. I actually genuinely think that Will be a halfway decent manager. And it was like, when I have to go back and think about the last few years, I get like PTSD thinking about what we had before. So maybe it is just kind of that shiny new coin that came in, but at the same time, I think he outperformed the last few years very easily.
Yeah.
And I think, again, he gets players and he makes sure that they're their best, and he makes sure he's his best, which I appreciate.
It's a long season, and he did avoid those potholes, and that credit due. No matter how much if I want to nitpick him or whatever, credit for that, because that's a big aspect of this. And we see from recent managers, even Ricky, there was the weird flare-ups with like Keuchel and his jackassery. And I mean, again, that's not Ricky's fault per se, but okay, it's sort of like on his tab. Okay, I'm curious, David, where do you weigh in here?
Well, I was actually just trying to figure out, because I was curious about what the score of those one-run games actually were. Because I feel like a lot of the times when people would be up in arms about the bullpen, the bullpen would give up 2 runs late in the 7th or 8th inning. I would be like, okay, well, on one hand, yeah, they gave up runs late. On the other hand, they were guarding a 1-0 lead, or they were guarding a 2-0 lead, or a 2-1 lead. It was
they came
always
in the 5th inning. Yeah.
It was always just like, so I'm just looking right now. They lost 3 games 1-0. They lost 4 games 3-2. They lost 1 game 2-1. And it just seems like, I would do a more thorough analysis about it if I had a little time. I thought I did, but then it turns out my Microsoft Excel is the copy I pirated isn't working right now. That's fine, as long as those filthy bastards never get a cent of my money. It's worth it. But I just think that a lot of what the bullpen management issues were really just them guarding leads that were really tough asks. A lot of very thin margins. And when you look at the bullpen that they wound up with at the end of the year, the most of these guys have an ERA plus above 100, 100 being average, so you're looking at above average there. In fact, the only guys that really struggle, Tyler Alexander ended with a 99, so you can't get too mad at him. Grant Taylor wound up at an 86, but his arm was clearly exhausted by the end of the year, so I don't really put too much on that. Then the only other guy that was really hanging around that had no below average season was Cam Boozer. The rest of these guys, they all got cut. Jared Schuster had a terrible year, but he was gone quick. Penn Murphy was gone quick. Clevenger. So I think there are arms here. And I think as long as the White Sox are hitting as well as they did in the second half of the year, they could definitely, like, I just think about how if you are a bullpen and everybody has an ERA of 3, you would say, wow, that's a good bullpen. That also means that they're all giving up at least 1 run every 3 games. And if you're asking your bullpen to guard a bunch of 1-0, 2-1 leads, the law of averages says that you can be a good bullpen and still blow a lot of games. And I just wonder if we delve deeper into the metrics of this season, if that would be what we found. They were just stressed out beyond belief.
It seems clear that the offensive resilience in the second half, bats that actually were bats, not wiffle bats, were a big difference because leads were lost and there were games they rallied back for leads or ties like 4 times. That hasn't happened. I feel like I've never been alive since that's happened. So that's a big factor here. And it is easy to just, have your mind blown by the bullpen when there are factors. And I would say the absolute lack of offense, which we did see pick up in the second half, but overall, wow, still pretty woeful, is still something that truly needs to be addressed. And when I hear Prescott say, we're not gonna, what do you say? We're not gonna hunt for power. Chris, consider hunting for power. I know you can't just rub 2 sticks together because of Jerry, but okay, before we go to speed round, final word on Venable. Of course, why don't I get the final word on Venable? 53 and 109 was the pace for the first half. Now, suddenly you had like 4 blue chip prospects brought up and suddenly the team was better. Now, if you're going to say, wow, the team was bad, what could Venable do? Well, then you also have to give him some credit for guiding and placing the players and knowing when to give them the breaths they need in the second half to play better. He took that talent, much better talent, and did the right things with it. It was a better result. It was a 19-game improvement. If you look at just the pacing of the first half and second half, it does bode well for 2026. However, I'm still skeptical. I'll leave it at that. Speed round. Okay, only one of these questions is going to be familiar. We'll save that for second. Okay, I want to know from each of you, who is and don't take someone off the board because no one's coming in to rescue this team. Not from the minors. I mean, maybe from the minors. I don't think so. Definitely not from another team. I guess there could be a trade. I don't know. Who is the breakout player for 2026? Give it to me, everybody.
And I think that we're going to see another jump from Shane Smith this next season, and I think that he could see himself in at least getting some top 10 Cy Young votes next year in the AL, as long as his progression stays on the course it has been. It's
ironic that about the time when he was named All-Star, and I was like, what? But they gotta pick somebody. That was like the low ebb of his season. Pretty much from there, I mean, didn't have a great All-Star game itself, but sort of started to put it back together. And by the end of the season, coincidentally timed with a brilliant David James piece at Outside Sox, really the guy who is clearly, I mean, this isn't a matter of everybody stepping back and it looks like he stepped forward, but he definitely seems to be the clear-cut ace potential. Okay, nobody can pick Smith. Okay, if you want to, you can, and just dovetail behind some of David's stats. Breakout player 2026. Try to pick a player from the actual roster because no one's saving this team.
I might get flamed for this.
Okay.
But Lenine Sosa.
Ooh. I think David likes that answer too.
Yeah, David wrote really, really
Hell
great
yes,
articles.
let's go.
Yeah,
He
really wrote so many good pieces this in the short time he was here, and he wrote one about Lenine Sosa, and it kind of opened my eyes. And I went back and was looking at his baseball reference page. He 22 home runs this year. I mean, he really kind of had a breakout year, and I think he gets overlooked when you're looking at what Colson Montgomery did. So, Lenine Sosa.
All right. Okay, yeah, so the breakout player for 2026 is going to be David James. All right then, Joe and Melissa, pick someone else.
And to refresh my memory, I can't choose a minor leaguer on this.
Oh, you can. I'm just being dour saying no one's coming through that door to save this team next year.
Okay.
And to be fair, I don't think there is anybody really on the cusp. Definitely not with a bat, but prove me wrong, Joe.
Yes, I'm going to go with Noah Schultz on this one.
Whoa, Noah Faith.
Yes. It was not an awesome year for him, but I think, I could see him pulling off a Colson Montgomery, and I think he has a chance of having a similar type of season like that, but from a pitching perspective. I think he has a greater chance of doing that than Montgomery had at this point last year.
Sure.
And
he was like on the DFA list, so yeah, probably.
Yes. And not to mention, and I've almost sound like a broken record, but he does have the whole tall left-handed pitching thing. The White Sox actually do have a track record of developing those kinds of players. And good. I give him credit. He did win some games for the Barons, helping them win another Southern League championship. So he hasn't been in the majors yet, but I think he'll be able to handle the bright lights when the time comes, and I think he will be able to make an appearance and do a pretty good job and be a solid member of that 2026 pitching staff.
We don't have enough money to get sued. In fact, we don't have any money to get sued. So White Sox, don't sue us. This is just speculative on my part. Man, I'm living on the edge today. And oral histories they're fun to read. It's lazy journalism, but it's fun to read. So I'm looking forward to the oral history on what Chris Getz had to do, what black magic he got involved in that turned Colson around the way he did. Yeah, okay, hitting lab in Arizona. Great. I know that's the cover story. That's what I really want to know. So Joe is just, he's doubling down. He says, all right, bulky knee, can't hit the plate, but he's tall and it's not crazy. It's a good pick. And so stay in my dugout. Don't leave. I don't want to be lonely. Okay, Melissa, it's down to you. I've come up with a pick. Melissa, give me yours.
Mine is Grant Taylor. I think what they did with him this year was a great idea. Give him a taste, start him in the bullpen, give him this whole off season then to work on different things, and then he'll just be ready to roll next year. He's got great stuff. Get him with a new pitching coach too, some new eyes. So I can see Grant really opening some eyes next season, and I'm excited about that.
Oh, I like that one. Always we have Melissa's early Southside Sox predictions for MVP pitcher. I'm not gonna hold you to it, Melissa. He's feisty. That's what's fun too. He's not that these guys. We don't want to root for 26 robots, but he's feisty. That I guess that can work against a pitcher or any player, but he's feisty. That's fun to see. Okay, Chrystal is gonna kill me for this because I'm coming up with it instead of her because she had to be David's friend and pick Lenine Sosa. Drew Thorpe. This is a long shot because is he dead? Does he have two arms? But Drew Thorpe, I loved until I didn't love him. I loved him at Birmingham. That was a miraculous season. Jumps to the majors. Pretty darn good getting his feet wet. And then, again, I don't know, was it because of the elbow or whatever? Or were hitters figuring out he throws 91? But because everybody else took the good answers, I'm saying, my man, Drew Thorpe. Me and Crystal's man, Drew Thorpe.
I do love him. I came into this thinking that, double, single A were off the table.
Oh, okay. So I cheated.
So,
Well,
yeah, I didn't
he's
come
a
up
major
with
leaguer in our
score.
hearts, Chrystal. Okay.
I agree. I think I called him the second coming of the good years of Dylan Cease. Dylan Cease is only good every other year.
That's true. That's
He's
true.
the good years of Dylan
That's true.
Cease.
It's true. That's true. He hasn't been tempted to go into that massive, preposterous stillskin beard the way Dylan came into the season this year. Come on, Dylan. You're a free agent now. Keep it clean. Okay. Speed round number 2 is familiar one, so just give me your answer from before, although there are no before times for David, so he's going to have to come up with something. Win total for 2026. And there's a second part to this, so just humor me here. Win total for 2026. Way too early. Win total prediction for 2026. We're starting with Joe.
On the last podcast, I started out at 66. After further reflecting, I'll
See the movement.
I'll bump it up to 68.
Look, see, Chrystal, you're winning him up. I've lost him. He's left my dugout. That cup is getting fuller. Okay, Chrystal. Well, then I think the pressure's on. It's got to be more than 68 if Joe's already thrown 68 at you. So win total for you.
I'm going to say 71.
Okay, breaking the 70. And again, I think every time you say that, I say that's what you want in this rebuild. Unfortunately, the White Sox started at 40, but you want that 10 jump. So 60 to 70 would be like, granted, it'll be next decade by the time they're favorites, maybe even in the AL Central. No, they'll be favorites in the AL Central earlier than that because the AL Central is hideous and worth laying down and avoiding. What a terrible division. But we'll get to that. That's the second part of this. Melissa, win total. So I'm giving David. He's trying to get his Excel fired up.
72.
Okay.
72. I'm sticking with it.
Oh,
Yep,
okay.
72. It's
Empty glass. Man, I'm totally abandoned. Isn't this like every podcast? By the end, it's just, Brett, leave. We can finish this without you.
It's
Okay,
always
David.
coming back to me, Brett.
72 is still bad.
Oh, no. I'm with you. It's still really bad. But we're all going to be like breaking our arms going, yeah, man, we're back. And we only finished 19 games out because the division winner won 82. I don't know the math. David, what do you think 2026 win total? Way too early. I'm not going to ask you to write this in ink, or on Excel, but what is it?
85.
All right. And see, David's also a humorist, so sometimes you're not sure, is this the humor part coming out? Is the analysis part coming out? I'm going to take this as analysis. But
Hell yeah.
Chrystal, I don't think it's your dugout anymore. I think it's the David James dugout. All right, 85. I've been skeptical on these podcasts, so I'm going to stick with that. I'm not going to do a Joe thing where it's like, all right, I'm feeling the wind. So no, I'm going to stick that my boat is not moving. I'm going to say, I think I said 60. I'll say 66. I need more convincing, but then this is a guy who said 42 this year, so don't listen to me. In fact, I think Chrystal will attest. Good idea, just never to listen to me. Here's the second part of that. And I think we already know David's answer because he might say first. Will the White Sox finish ahead of the Twins next year? Are they not going to be a last place team in 2026? David, that's a given, so you don't even have to weigh in. They're not going to be a last place team. Melissa, are they going to edge out the Twins with their great new manager, whatever guy they're going to get from the Rays, great new manager, are they going to outpace the White Sox in 2026?
Yeah, they won't be in last place. So no more cellar dwellers. But again, it's still
The White
bad.
Sox will make it at least
they're
to 4.
not the
Okay.
worst.
All right. Yeah, just breaking the last place. I mean, it's still something. I know that's just cosmetics. Who cares? But it's nicer cosmetics. Chrystal, they going to be in last place?
I'm going to go ahead and say at one point in the season, they're even going to hit third.
Like late enough for it to count.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think they
Okay.
could reach third at some point in the season.
Okay. And then they remember who they are. They look in the mirror and they say, okay, let's.
They're
all
still
right,
not going to
fourth.
finish last though.
Okay,
but
not last.
They'll probably still finish fourth, but I think they're going to hold on to the third position for a reasonable amount of time.
Okay. Joe?
I really did not like the post-deadline Twins, so the White Sox will beat them.
All right. I don't know how my math works out saying they're going to win 66 games but not be in last place, but I I also think the White Sox are better than the Twins. I don't think the Twins are going to do anything they're going to hire a manager who's selling peanuts like, out in the plaza there at Target Field. So, yeah, if that means I got to up my win total, fine. Okay. Drag me by the hair and I'll say 70 or whatever. But no, I don't think they're going to be in last place either. Again, the man, as Missiles pointed out, not that that's great. Second division in a 5-team division still ain't good. But, okay, David, to allow you a little bit of time, what place do you, again, way too early. We don't even know for sure which 5 teams are going to be in the division, but what place do you think the White Sox are going to end up in this early juncture?
I think they're going to be fighting for the 3rd wild card spot to the last week of the season. Whether or not they pull it off is going to be down to how healthy they are.
Okay. All right. And when you say 85 and fighting for the division, that is like a no-brainer because what was it? Was it 91 won the division this year? I mean, what can you say about this division that 2 teams are in a must-win situation and I guess the Guardians did win. They did look like they were going to lose. All right, they won. I'll shut up. Oh, I'll praise the Guardians. God, I hate this division, man. These teams,
here's
man.
the thing. Yeah, though, like the Tigers just had a generational trauma inflicted on their core. They literally set a record for biggest blow up. Like that's, and they have to go face the Guardians again. And if they manage to lose this wild card game on top of it, that's going to be like a
mortal wound. Yeah,
that's going to be like a Fred Merkle level trauma.
Yeah,
they're going to have to take the team and move them into San Francisco Bay.
Yeah,
it's going to be a disaster.
But David, I have confidence in the general leadership abilities of AJ Hinch to pull them out of that. He's a stand-up guy who's there with his team.
Hey. Listen, if you want to put AJ Hinch on a flag and ask me to salute it, I'll do it. I don't know if he can turn it around after they just inflicted what they did on themselves. The Guardians were just trying to sell. I'll never believe in the Royals just as a concept. And I think a lot of these guys just have another layer to grow, and now I see a direction. And I also think that they can run enough pitcher reclamation projects, and they already have a lot of balance in the lineup, and I think they're going to be a really good fielding team next year. I think Luis Robert kind of figured something out at the plate with his approach, and I don't know. I'm just feeling 85. If I'm wrong, I don't get paid for these opinions, so who cares?
Exactly. If I'm wrong, go ask for your money back, people. Yes, that's one of the hidden mottos under the Sox Populi and Southside Sox masthead. Among our many mission statements, yes, go get your money back. That includes you two, White Sox. We know you're listening. We didn't even give you any free pocket schedule titles this time around. Next time. All right, I guess that's it. I've kept you all long enough. David James proving he is fitting in splendidly. Okay, well, he's going to have to towel up that glass there on the desk at Podcast Central there in the James household, because that was a very, very full cup. But this is a bad division, and that can only help the White Sox crawl back to any sort of relevance. And it will be sped by being in a division like this. Because the Royals, the Tigers. The thing I don't like about the Tigers, they got such beef with us. I don't want to be like a Cubs fan. Like, what are the White Sox? What a bunch of idiots. It's a 2-team town. What, the White Sox? We don't care about the White Sox. Well, then you're idiots. Well, we know on many levels they're idiots. No offense to the Bollenbach household there. I'm sorry, Melissa, but I'm sure you guys have plenty of scuffles. And no offense to your former fandom, Chrystal, but hey, you disavowed it, so God bless you for that. You disavowed it to come to the White Sox. So double God bless you. But the Tigers fans are like, man, they got such an axe to grind. If it's not like Robert Fick, I don't care about the Tigers. And it's not like, oh, they don't exist. Yeah, the rivalry or whatever. But what is their major beef with the White Sox? I'm not even going to say like little brother thing or anything like that. I don't get it. I don't realize why it exists. I might say Cleveland because of those bat corking idiots in the 90s invaded our park and broke a still somewhat young fan's heart back then. But anyhow, all right. Sorry about that stupid sidebar about the Tigers. I don't know where I want to go. Thank you, David. Fitting right in. Successful first podcast. Thanks for the analysis. And again, mop up that spill of all that optimism there. Melissa Sage-Bollenbach, thank you for what you've done all season, and even deciding on your first day of vacation to hang out and do this. You'll learn. You're still new at this. Chrystal O'Keefe, ditto. Not sure what you're doing, but was so happy to see your name pop up. So thank you for being here and sharing some time with me. Super Joe. Come on. You're the man. Thanks for being around again. Always happy. A little extra presence under the Christmas tree when I see people like Joe and Crystal's name pop up. Melissa, I just figure that's a given. She's going to show up. What else you got to do, Melissa? All right, anyhow, before I run everybody off the podcast permanently, big news, Soxivus may be returning in the fall. We'll be doing some of those soon. It'll give us an excuse to do podcasts and, I don't know, talk about stuff that we maybe haven't already talked a whole lot about. But thank you, Melissa, Chrystal, Joe, the departed David James, and to all of you out there listening, whatnot. Okay, on to the off season. Can't promise there's going to be a ton of news, but whatever there is, we'll cover it. And I don't know, we'll have a little celebration with all of you, dear listeners, viewers, and readers. Take care. Until next time, we will attack you sooner than you are ready for us next.